Welcome back, friends, to Max Q Barbecue. My name is Craig, and this is Season 3, Episode 13, Learning How to Trim Spare Ribs. In this episode, we go back to barbecue camp at Mason-Dixon Barbecue Services, and we drop in on Roger Martin, a professional butcher, and learn from Roger how to trim a set of spare ribs into the St. Louis style ribs that we all like to cook and often are displayed in competition. So let's go check him out.
Costco, all those kind of places, but it's great to find a good butcher and have a relationship with that butcher. We do recommend it. For us, we deal with Penn Avenue Meats down in Hagerstown. We were just talking about it with Roger. Roger was the owner of Penn Avenue Meats. He's now what we call the owner emeritus. He's retired. His son has taken over about 4 or 5 years now.
So Linda and I built a new house about 4 years ago, and so we're like in the new house, and we found out that a stone countertop is the best way to defrost frozen like steaks. Take them off the plate, put them right on the counter, still in the back or whatever, and they will defrost and flip them, and they'll defrost quicker than water because the stone accepts all the temperature and so on. So the funny thing about our countertop, we knew it was a stone countertop when we picked it, and we thought it was Corrigan, and we took it for granted. So anyways, hey, when you buy, often when you buy baby back ribs, what you're looking for is you're looking for meat and not bones to show on the back side of it, because when you do these in the smoker, those bones find a way through that membrane and they just come out. We call them shiners, and they show out, they come out, and it's like not pretty. Plus you're trying to find meat. And this, by the way, is the bones that are on the pork loin, where the rib chops are. These are that bone. That's the section this is. This is where the bacon comes off of. So this would be like, these would be together like this in the front of the pig with the leg and leg. This would be that side meat where the bacon comes off of. This is where the boneless pork chops come from. So if you could picture the curve of the bone here, this would be the rib chop. And this would be the portion right here where it has the loin on the other side, where the fillet is. This seems like a silly thing to say, but I should say it. People open packages by going the widest, easiest place. And they should be opening a package by cutting on the end of the bones. Now, when you overcut, you didn't do anything. You didn't hurt. The silliest thing we could possibly do is that where the membrane is, you never want to cut that because now you have two membranes to remove. And the way they work is bones all have a membrane over them. And this is true on beef. This is true on everything. One of the cleanest things to ever do is when we took the H-bone, that we called it, from the rump, and the beef is hanging there and it weighs a lot, was to start it and then pull on the meat, and the bone will come clean like you cooked it off. Have you ever seen that? So there's no meat and no cutting with your knife and so on. So the idea here is to, can you see the difference between the heavy bone, which would be the rib end, and the thin bone that's very loose? You want to start at this end. And what you're going to do is you're going to peel the membrane with the side of your knife. You're just trying to get a hold of this membrane. If you don't get a hold of the whole thing, start over. You're going to have paper towels, so I'll use paper towel. And what you want to do is, if you don't remove this, this will not smoke. If you say, I'll just wait until I'm finished and it turns to a potato chip and it'll be easy to take off, then this will be white like you had a hat on the suntan. So it won't. So what we're going to try to do, we'll get a hold of this end. And we're going to take that all off in one swipe like that. So it looks really, really easy. Sometimes this will separate off, which mine just did. I will take it off. See how it is? Do you see how it's doing on the bone there? Do you see that? See how that is? The bone is completely separated. This is one of the times you hate gloves, because your grip is actually better than paper towel. Old ideas were use a spoon to get underneath it, so you don't cut into the meat. Well, you do want it to be nice and smooth. See how smooth that is also? So, this is the backbone. It's been cut while the pork was hanging, while the pig was hanging, and that's the backbone. And look at all the meat on this. So, here's another thing about the industry. When baby back ribs were not valuable, and they are now, when they were not valuable, like they were like half the price or less of a pork chop, they were always skinned as tight as you could get them, because they just said, "Oh, we'll make the money. We'll make sure the meat is on the pork chop or the boneless pork chop." Now that they're so popular, boneless pork sells probably more than it has ever sold. Even restaurants are using boneless pork all the time for their pork chop. So you will find that when the price of baby back ribs are up, you get better baby back ribs. It's just business. It's the way it is. And the same thing goes with bacon and the what we're going to do St. Louis ribs. So it should look like this when it's going on. There isn't really anything. Sometimes there's a flap of meat here in this section that you might want to take off. But, any questions about that? It's pretty basic. All right, let's do the St. Louis rib. So there are two in this pack. There again, don't cut the side of it. So this is the sternum, right in the front, where if this was beef, this would be the brisket, where the brisket bone is. So if you could picture this one and that one being the two sides, the front and the end. Here again, we have another membrane. In fact, this has a big flap from the inside. I'm not sure. Shouldn't be there.
That flap's not normally there.
Often it's not. This is inside the cavity of the animal that holds the organs. So what we're going to do you see these knuckles? I call them knuckles there. Do you see them? And what we're going to do, you don't have a bandsaw. You don't really want a bandsaw. But these are actually little joints. And I'm going to scrape one open so you can see it. So you can see how it is. At this point, what happens is it goes from bone to like a tendon or ligament. Do you see it? Try to find that when before you start cutting. This also has a membrane on it. It should break. It should break. It won't break. I'm not in far enough. There it is. So do you see the where it's breaking like that? Doesn't sound nice, does it? So that is a joint. It's actually a joint that you come down. And to make a St. Louis rib, what we're going to do is we're going to cut through just that part. Man, my knife is so slippery. Try not to cut yourself, guys. It will ruin your day. Can I borrow one of your sharp knives? Do you hear that popping? Tip, 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 tip. He has other things he's going to do with this. He's going to smoke this and make like tips and other things. This is really a sweet meat. You see that right there? Very tender, and it's dark meat. Pork is white meat, right? This is dark meat. The same as on the little fillet on the other side of the pork chop is dark meat too, instead of white meat. So we're going to do the same thing here that we did on the baby back ribs. We're going to get a hold of the membrane. Pull it off straight. I hope your St. Louis rib is wider than this one. It's not how I did it, it's the way it was. So you're gonna have to live with the animal a bit and how it was cut off of the carcass. So here again, if it starts doing that, what it's doing, you see that there's no membrane coming off there. Sometimes that's because there is no membrane there. Sometimes it's because you do. So it's only a little piece of membrane on the St. Louis rib. If you do competition, you're going to want it to not taper down like this is. But that's where the joints are. And you're going to cut where you can cut with your knife and not get a saw. So, like that. So this is what you're going to do.
We're just cutting out the joints because that's the easiest part to cut right now.
Because you don't have a saw.
Okay.
Yes. If you had a saw, though, you would probably stay out farther. But this is helpful for it to be at a joint and not saw it. The reason why is because when you're eating it, you want to be able to just cut right through each piece. And if it had a bend of bone on there, you wouldn't be able to. So the eating part is part of that story.
Roger, a lot of times I like to cut the brisket bone off, but
Here
leave
first.
the tips on.
Yes.
Because tips are awesome.
Yes.
So where would I cut for that?
I got to show you this first. I'm going to show you
Okay, that's
what these bones are showing here. So each one of those bones turns into a tendon or a ligament, and they come off the end, and then immediately they turn. Let's see if I can show you this. I can't show you this.
Now, what he's doing is worthwhile. If you're doing like one of the reasons we do whole spares while he's figuring that out is because if you're doing 4 or 5 racks of spare ribs, it's worth getting the whole spares for that meat that he's got right there. Okay, because we'll do those and we'll hammer those out, and then it's just meat, and then you make pinwheels out of them, which then make for beautiful appetizers and all that kind of stuff because it's just meat. So you go ahead and you'll hammer the meat section out. You put prosciutto in there, maybe some spinach, maybe some sun-dried tomatoes or something like that. Then season that up, roll it up, cheese, throw a little cheese in there, and then make pinwheels out of them, and they make a great appetizer because they cook a lot faster than the ribs themselves do. So you put them on at the same time, and then you just slice them up and make little pinwheel appetizers out of the whole thing.
Two things that you can do. You can either pound this. We have a chop maker. It's about this round, and it has a handle straight on the back of it, and it's used in bakeries too, I believe. Anyways, you can do that and pound it. I think that kind of ruins the texture of the grain of the meat and stuff. Or you could lay it down and on the edge of the table.
Okay, so you could do that and cut your hand off and ruin the texture of the grain.
Or you can spend 40 years learning how to do it.
So you see this? We do this with flanks, and we do pinwheels and that sort of thing with other cuts of meat also at the store. So that's really cool stuff. Did that answer your question about the the front of the brisket? Yeah, the sternum is what it really is. So each one of those little bones comes out. Do you see how they are? They come out and immediately they turn into this, where you've cut it off, and they are like that. Look at my hand. It looks just like that. All right. Any questions about this? You're each going to do this. So hopefully.
Right, so you have any questions about this?
Are we
They will when they have their own thing.
Yeah.
Are we splitting it down the middle or no?
What's that?
The dark meat. Are we doing that?
Oh, you're not going
No. We're not messing with
We're not
that at
gonna
all.
do that.
Anybody who wants to take, we'll actually hand out gallon bags, and anybody who wants to take their their riblets home, you're welcome to. We call them riblets. Whoever wants to take their riblets home can do that. I will tell you, don't forget them, because after every ribs class, I normally have about 20 bags of riblets hanging out in my freezer because no one remembers to take them.
Take
with
them home.
Yeah, but yeah, that's not a great thing.
That's probably not a good thing.
All right. And did you cut those ribs square, or did you follow the line?
Well, I followed the line.
Oh, stop that.
And I explained it.
Okay, did you explain it?
I did
Okay.
explain.
So we are not going to do what he did.
No.
So I'm going to have you cut one more.
Well,
All right.
the other one's probably going to be straight.
Okay, so we're going to cut one more. All right, so cut one more. Because you can do it in like 10 seconds. All right, but square it off.
Oh, yeah.
To pull it down square.
Yeah.
All right. And you took the membrane off?
Second.
Huh?
Second.
Second, in a second.
No, after I cut it.
Ah. Yeah.
So he's saying, stay out here onto the cartilage and get it straight. You see what's going on here? My knife is so slippery. Just a Cisco knife. That's what it is.
You need paper towels?
I have a rag. I have a towel here. So see what he's saying? What he's saying is he wants to get it straight. I was explaining that a while ago when I was telling you. So he wants it to stay uniform, straight out like this. The bones on this one also follow. You know that's the process. That's cutting this part on an angle.
Right, on an
Instead of
angle.
staying out straight,
Yeah.
then your idea works really, really well, and we stay with the joints that we saw a while ago. We stay with those joints, and then the bone is actually straight.
Yeah.
But the processor hasn't done that right.
Here, do me a favor, square that off too, and take off. So what we're gonna do too, the other two things that we're gonna do, you see how you've got this little end bone right here?
Yeah.
And you see how it's sticking out?
Yeah.
When that cooks, that's just gonna fall off.
It'll come clear out.
Yep, so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna cut that off, and then we're gonna cut the other side down here, and we're gonna square off these ribs. The way he's got it right now, okay, is what they call a Kansas City cut. All right, that means you've just cut the top off and you haven't done anything with the ends anywhere along the way.
Right.
All right, and if you really want to impress your friends, say, "Oh, that's a Kansas City cut."
Yeah, right.
Oh, really? Which means absolutely nothing because we'll tend to square it off anyhow and make St. Louis cut out of it.
And that's
Bless
not,
you.
and that's not politics.
And that's not politics. That's not politics. That's not doing it.
Yeah. Good answer.
That was not necessary.
Very, very wise.
Honestly, though, if I have opinions on this.
Oh, gosh. We're hating on
Well,
Kansas City.
Maybe you know why they call it Kansas City.
What football team do you root for?
None.
Ah, good for you. That was the right answer.
Her team always wins. Her team always wins. And how's the popcorn, huh?
That's so funny.
So, yeah, what he's saying is that this often, if they split a rib between taking this off, that would just fall off
Yeah.
when you cook it.
And then I square off that side too. Just square off the very end.
This.
No.
Oh, the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is beyond the floating bone. You know, this bone is actually not fastened to the backbone.
I did not.
There are, I think, 3
That's why you're here.
that are not fastened to the backbone. At all.
Okay.
So they're floats. We actually have people have floating ribs too. If you ever had a back broken or anything like that.
So that's kind of what we're looking for. So that's what we're after right there. And you notice the way Roger does this, and I'm sure he's probably done it 50 times now and has yet to say anything about it. But one of the biggest things that we show people is to feel your meat. Okay, feel it. And he keeps going like this over and over again, never says it. Okay, but feel it. Before you even start cutting on it, feel it. Feel how it comes across. Feel where the bones are. All right, and you're gonna feel your meat. I know people laugh about that because, well, we're all immature. Okay, but feel the way that your meat goes, whether it's brisket or anything. I tell people that even with pork butts, feel it. Feel how it feels. Feel where your bones are. A little bit of a shiner right here.
I think yes.
Yeah. All right, so we got a little bit
I
of a
was going to
shiner.
rip you about that.
Yeah. Oh. All right, so we got a little bit of a shiner here. We're actually the meat's coming through actually here too.
Yep,
All right,
it
so
is.
these are cut a little bit thin, which means the price of pork belly is high right now, right?
Pork belly's high.
Right.
Bacon is really high.
Right. Okay. So bacon, right, comes off the back side of this, or off this side of this.
So they skin it.
Right. So when these are really thin, okay, the price of bacon and the price of pork belly is really high. Okay, and then we'll get to the baby backs, and we'll talk about pork loin and tenderloin.
Yeah.
But the same kind of thing. So when the price of bacon or the price of pork butt's really high, your spare ribs are really thin. Okay, and when it's lower, then your spare ribs are actually a little thicker.
Yep. Actually, I remember deboning baby back ribs.
Really?
We didn't have boneless pork chops.
You wouldn't just cook them and they pull them out and then just. I mean.
Oh
that's
no,
the
we
easy way to do
it went in sausage.
it. Okay. You did baby back ribs. You made sausage out of?
Yes.
Wow.
You couldn't sell them
Wow.
in the '60s. You couldn't sell chicken wings.
Well, I knew that.
And then Chili's came along.
There is.
So the first one did not have a knuckle,
No.
and
Right.
that one does.
This one does. Have
Right.
So how do you eat it with the knuckle? Did you say it was hard to cut once it has the knuckle and cook?
Well, before it's cooked. That's why I could use a knife. These are all the knuckles right
What are
here.
you saying? Like, how do you cut it once it's cooked?
Once it's cooked, I thought you said you took the knuckle off to make it easy to cut when you cooked it.
When you cook this, each one of these ribs will,
Oh, pop it.
They'll come apart.
you can kind
Yeah,
of.
yeah. We'll slice them if you want to slice them. I mean, that's one of the
I'm
demonstrations.
just curious.
that
That's
we'll
all. Just a question.
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
Questions are great. No, I ask all
that-
the questions you want.
That is right. We talked about the use of the saw. The use of the saw is not helpful in this because we want the knuckles. We want the ribs to flow
Yeah,
individually. You'll be able to cut, as you go.
absolutely.
So
Because like even in competition, when you do competition ribs and you turn those in, you're all right, no flies today. And you turn those in, they go through. So when if you guys are ever going to do competition, like this would be a terrible competition rack.
this is better.
Yeah, because all the bones go sideways on you.
Yeah.
Okay, and you're looking for something where the bones are going to be straight up. And most of the times when you got to watch those TV shows and they're turning in competition ribs, they are using that section of the ribs. That's tasting and that's tasting. And that section of the ribs, that's why they cook 6 racks of ribs to turn in 6 individual ribs in competition.
One
Because they want to find the one ribs that look exactly like, and they all line up the same height.
And I don't know if you ever thought about it or not, but when they're doing competition ribs, the processor knows that that's what we're doing. So they make sure to cut this further out.
Well, see,
because
because the competition, really, you guys, you're thinking like when they buy from like Mr. Brisket or
Yes.
from the guys that do the Wagyu, Snake River or whatever. You think they're cutting them different?
Snake River
They
Farms,
cut
they're
them
taking
different.
care of business.
Really, they
Creekstone-
didn't do it when I competed.
Creekstone
I wonder if they do it
definitely
now. Oh, do they?
Creekstone definitely does.
Ah,
Absolutely. They know
interesting.
that's what they're doing.
Because you have to order it, so it's competition.
Competition
competition.
style.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Anyway, it's the money.
Yeah.
But that's the way it works.
Is the difference between the first one and the second one, like, are they cut in half? What happens?
Oh.
Okay, so they come from a different part of the pig. Is that what you're asking? Is that the question
the
that you're
first-
asking?
yeah.
So if you
Okay,
remember,
so this
I
was
said,
the first one,
this is the pork chops,
and then this was the second one.
and this is the bacon.
yeah. Okay.
So they are joined
They're
actually.
joined, they're cut in half.
Yes.
Right. So this is the spine. This is the back of the pig.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I
Okay, and then this is where is it? Yeah, this one's up at the top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and then that one comes down below and comes
thought.
back in
Yeah.
under.
Yeah.
Actually, I'll get you a picture. I got a picture of that. That's really good.
And the other
No, it
thing
really does
is
explain it. It's
Yeah.
hard
the
to
man,
visualize.
the man with the well saw. You
Yeah.
know what a well saw looks like? A big jigsaw.
Yeah.
That's for meat. He is actually doing a judgment call here.
Uh huh.
He is the man that's pulling loins out. Is the highest paid man in the whole processing floor. You'd think it would be the guy that kills the animal or whatever, but it's not. It's the guy that makes the money. Beef too. He's the guy that makes the money. It's hanging there, and he's making a judgment call that this rib is 7 inches long.
And what's the
Right down
name
through.
of them? The different pieces.
So this is a baby back rib,
Okay.
and this would be a St. Louis rib now, or a flat rib,
Okay.
or a whole rib.
It's the back. Okay.
A spare. It's called a spare rib.
Perfect.
So
So
and then
baby
the
back
cut.
rib.
Yeah, the cut is the St. Louis, but the whole thing that we started with is called the spare.
Okay.
And then this is the baby back.
Okay.
Does not come from a baby pig. It's all from the same place.
Okay.
No, you're laughing.
But it's the back.
No, I've had that
From the
question
back.
lots of
And-
times.
And
Actually.
that doesn't mean you can take it back. Hey, look.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed our video today on trimming up spare ribs and making them into St. Louis style ribs. Be sure to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.